My name is Elena Martinez, a neurosurgeon. My hands have saved hundreds of lives, but they trembled the moment I held the scalpel above the man who vanished from my life 6 years ago. Now lying unconscious on my operating table, with a chip buried deep in his brain to erase every memory of us. And in that life or death moment, he whispered my name, Elena. Before I share my story, tell me where you're watching from in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you've ever overcome a family betrayal. Trust me, you'll want to hear what happens next. My hands have saved hundreds of lives, but they trembled the moment I saw his face. The trauma bay erupted in controlled chaos as they wheeled him in. Another car accident victim, another race against time. I pulled on my surgical gloves with practiced precision, my mind already mapping the procedure ahead. The nurse rattled off vitals while I studied the scans. Subdural hematoma, significant swelling, emergency craniotomy needed. Let's move, I commanded, leading the rush to OR3. Everything changed when they removed his oxygen mask. 6 years. 6 years since Marcus Chen vanished from my life, leaving nothing but a handwritten note that said, "I'm sorry," and an engagement ring I couldn't bring myself to sell. 6 years of wondering if he was dead or if he'd simply stopped loving me. And now he lay on my operating table, bleeding into his brain. "Dr. Martinez?" My resident's voice snapped me back. I'm fine." The lie came automatically. I forced my breathing to steady, pushed down the scream building in my chest. Scalpel. The next 3 hours blurred into precise movements and medical terminology. I became a machine, cutting into the skull of the man I'd once planned to marry, removing the clot that threatened his life. My team never knew that beneath my steady hands, my heart was shattering all over again. When I finally closed, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. An old surgical scar hidden beneath his hairline, a scar I'd never seen before. "Excellent work, Dr. Martinez." My attending nodded approvingly, though the patient was admitted as Michael Chase. No emergency contacts, no medical history. Strange. Michael Chase. Even his name was a lie. I should have walked away, should have assigned another doctor to his care, and pretended I'd never seen him. Instead, I found myself sitting beside his bed at 3 a.m., studying his unconscious face in the dim ICU light. The years had changed him. New lines around his eyes, a small scar on his chin, his black hair now touched with premature gray. But his hands, those gentle hands that used to trace patterns on my back while I fell asleep, remained exactly the same. His belongings, a nurse whispered, handing me a clear plastic bag. Security found these in his jacket. Inside, a wallet with the name Michael Chase, car keys, and something that made my pulse skip. A small USB drive with masking tape labeled, "For Elena the Truth, my name." After 6 years of silence, my name. I pocketed the drive before I could think better of it. Back in my office, I locked the door and plugged it into my laptop. A single video file appeared. Marcus's face filled the screen, younger, desperate, filming himself in what looked like a motel room. "Elena, if you're watching this, it means something's happened to me." His voice cracked. "I need you to know why I left. I witnessed a murder. A Nexus Pharma executive killing a whistleblower who was about to expose their illegal drug trials. They gave me 2 choices: disappear forever or watch everyone I love disappear instead. They showed me photos of you at the hospital, at your apartment, at your mother's house. I couldn't let them hurt you." I paused the video, my hands shaking so badly I knocked over my coffee. All those years I'd hated him for abandoning me, and he'd been trying to protect me. "There's more," he continued when I pressed play. "They did something to me. I can't remember exactly what, the memories are fuzzy, but I know they took me somewhere, did some kind of procedure. I have these gaps, these missing pieces. Elena, I loved you. I still love you. I'm so sorry." The video ended. I sat in the darkness of my office, tears streaming down my face, trying to reconcile the Marcus who left me with the Marcus who'd sacrificed everything to keep me safe. Marcus woke up 3 days later, and I watched from the doorway as he struggled to focus. His eyes, those warm brown eyes that used to look at me like I was his whole world, passed right over me without recognition. "Where am I?" he asked the nurse. "Seattle Medical Center. You were in an accident. Do you remember your name?" "Michael. Michael Chase. My heart cracked a little more. Whatever they'd done to him, it ran deep. I was reviewing his charts at the nurse's station when she arrived. Blonde, polished, moving with the kind of confidence that suggested money and privilege. She rushed past me, designer heels clicking on the linoleum. "Where is he? Where's my husband?" The word hit me like a physical blow. Husband. "Ma'am, I need you to check in at," the desk clerk began. "Michael Chase? He was in a car accident. I'm Sarah Chase, his wife." She produced documents from her purse with shaking hands. "Please, our daughter is in the car with my sister. She's terrified for her daddy." I forced myself to look at the papers she thrust at the clerk. Marriage certificate dated 3 years ago. Insurance cards. A family photo of Marcus, Michael, with his arm around this woman, a toddler on his hip, all of them smiling at the camera. 3 years. He'd built an entire life without me. "Room 314, the clerk said, and Sarah rushed past me again, leaving a trail of expensive perfume. I made it to the bathroom before I threw up, then sat on the floor trying to breathe through the pain. The USB drive burned in my pocket. He'd said he loved me, but he'd married someone else, had a child with someone else. Maybe the procedure had erased more than just his memories. Maybe it had erased us. I avoided his room for the rest of my shift, but as I gathered my things to leave, I heard a small voice in the hallway. "Daddy?" A little girl, maybe 4 years old, with straight black hair and Marcus's exact nose, stood outside room 314. She clutched a teddy bear, tears streaming down her face. "Hey, sweetheart." I knelt beside her. "Are you lost?" "Want Daddy," she whimpered. "But Mommy says he's sick." I helped her find Sarah, who scooped her up with practiced ease. "Thank you, doctor." "Martinez," I managed. Something flickered in her eyes. "Elena Martinez, the neurosurgeon?" I nodded, and her smile sharpened. "Michael's mentioned you, said you were brilliant." The lie was smooth, practiced. Marcus would never have mentioned me as Elena to his new family, which meant Sarah knew exactly who I was. I started watching them, not obviously, just passing by during the rounds, catching glimpses through the doorway. Sarah played the devoted wife perfectly, but something felt off. She touched Marcus constantly, as if reminding him she was there, but he seemed uncomfortable with her affection. And the little girl, Lily, was sweet but strangely formal with him, like she was following a script. My suspicions crystallized when I overheard Sarah on the phone in the family lounge. "No, he doesn't remember anything substantial. Yes, I'm maintaining cover. The child, she's playing her part perfectly. I understand the timeline." I ducked into a supply closet before she could see me, my mind racing. Maintaining cover? Playing her part? That night, I did something unethical. I accessed the hospital lab and ran a paternity test using hair samples from Marcus and Lily. While waiting for results, I dug deeper into Sarah Chase's background. The woman was a ghost before 3 years ago. No social media history, no employment records, nothing. She'd appeared in Marcus's life exactly 6 months after he disappeared from mine. My phone buzzed with the lab results. Probability of paternity, 0%. Lily wasn't his daughter. I was processing this when my pager went off. Emergency in Marcus's room. I ran, finding him seizing violently while Sarah stood frozen in the corner. "How long?" I barked, pushing past her. 2 minutes, maybe 3. "Get out." I didn't wait for her to leave before pushing medication into his IV. The seizure lasted another minute before finally subsiding, leaving Marcus unconscious and Sarah wringing her hands in the hallway. Will he be okay?" I studied her carefully. "These seizures? Has he had them before?" "No, never." But her eyes darted left, the classic tell of a liar. "I need his complete medical history. The real one." She straightened, mask slipping. "I don't know what you mean." "I think you do." I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "I know Lily isn't his. I know you didn't exist before 3 years ago. So let's skip the act. Who are you? And what did they do to him?" For a moment, she looked almost relieved. Then her phone rang, and whatever openness I'd seen vanished. She answered without breaking eye contact with me. "Yes, I understand." "No, the doctor suspects nothing." She hung up and smiled coldly. "You should be careful, Dr. Martinez. Some questions are dangerous to ask." The next morning, I found a note slipped under my office door. "Your father knew. Lab 6, basement, midnight. come alone. And my father had been dead for 5 years, killed in a fire that destroyed his research lab. The official cause was electrical malfunction, but I'd never believed it. He'd been working on something before he died, something he wouldn't discuss even with me. Lab 6 had been sealed since the fire. I used my override code, heart pounding as the door clicked open. The space was exactly as I remembered. Scattered papers, broken equipment, the ghost of smoke damage on the walls. "Hello, mija." I spun around, nearly screaming. A man stepped from the shadows, thinner and older but unmistakably alive. "Papa?" The word came out broken, childish. "I'm sorry, Elena. I'm so sorry." He pulled me into his arms, and I breathed in the familiar scent of his cologne mixed with laboratory chemicals. I had to disappear. "They were going to kill you if I didn't." "They? Nexus Pharma?" He nodded, leading me to a hidden panel in the wall. Inside were files, hard drives, medical equipment I didn't recognize. "I was developing a neural implant to treat Alzheimer's," he began. "But Nexus stole my research, weaponized it. They created implants that could suppress memories, alter personality, even control behavior. When I tried to stop them, they targeted you, told me if I didn't disappear, they'd put one in your brain." My hand went unconsciously to my head. "Did they?" "No, mija. I made sure of that. But Marcus..." He pulled out a file with Marcus's photo. He witnessed them testing the technology on prisoners. They caught him, implanted him, tried to erase his memories. But the early versions were flawed. I managed to get to him first, performed surgery to partially disable the implant. "That's the scar you found." "You saved him?" "I tried, but the damage was already done. He remembered fragments, enough to know he loved you, enough to try to protect you, but not enough to come back whole." I sank onto a dusty stool, overwhelmed. "And Sarah?" "CIA, part of a joint task force investigating Nexus. They placed her with Marcus to monitor him, make sure the implant stayed stable. The child is her niece, orphaned in an unrelated incident. They've been using them both. So everything, our entire lives, it's all been manipulation?" "Not everything." He took my hands. "Marcus's love for you, that was real. So real that even their best technology couldn't erase it completely. The seizures he's having, that's his brain fighting the implant, trying to remember. Armed with my father's research, I knew I could remove Marcus's implant, but it was dangerous. The surgery could kill him, or worse, leave him brain damaged. And even if successful, the memories might not return. He could wake up a stranger who chose his fake life over our real one." I found him alone the next morning, Sarah mysteriously absent. He was staring out the window, looking lost. "Good morning, Mr. Chase. How are you feeling?" He turned, and for a moment, something flickered in his eyes. "I know you." My heart stopped. "I'm your doctor." "No, I mean, I know you." He pressed his palms against his temples. "Sometimes I see things. A woman with your face, laughing, dancing in a kitchen, crying in a wedding dress. But that's impossible because I don't..." "Marcus." His real name slipped out before I could stop it. His head snapped up. "What did you call me?" I made my choice then. Closing the door, I sat beside him and took his hand. A violation of every professional boundary, but I was past caring. "Your name is Marcus Chen. You graduated from Harvard Medical School. You loved terrible action movies and perfect coffee. You asked me to marry you on a beach in Oregon during a thunderstorm because you couldn't wait for clear weather." My voice broke. "And you left to protect me from people who wanted to hurt us both." He stared at our joined hands, his breathing shallow. "Elena?" "Yeah," I whispered. "It's me. But I have a wife, a daughter. I have a life." "No." I pulled out my phone, showing him my father's files. "You have an implant in your brain and a CIA handler pretending to be your wife. None of it is real." He yanked his hand away, stumbling out of bed. "You're lying. You're confused. I need to call Sarah. The woman who reports on you daily, whose daughter isn't even yours? Marcus, please. I can prove everything, but first, you have to trust me. Just for 1 minute, trust me like you used to." He stopped at the door, hand on the handle. When he turned back, tears were streaming down his face. "The dreams," he said quietly. "I dream about drowning, and you're the one who pulls me out. Every single time, It's you. My father and I worked through the night, preparing for the surgery. Sarah had vanished after a terse phone call, her handler pulling her out once they realized we knew the truth. She'd left Lily with a real social worker, the first honest thing she'd done. The implant is integrated with his hippocampus, Papa explained, showing me the scans. We have to be precise. One wrong move. I know. I'd already run through the procedure 100 times in my mind. I can do this. Marcus had agreed to the surgery after seeing the evidence, but I could see the terror in his eyes. He was choosing to trust me with not just his life, but his identity. What if I wake up and still don't remember, he asked the night before. Then we make new memories, I said simply. Better ones. The OR was silent except for the rhythmic beeping of monitors. My team didn't know they were helping me save the love of my life. To them, it was just another complex procedure. But my father stood in the observation deck, and that gave me strength. 4 hours. 4 hours of navigating neural pathways, of carefully extracting the foreign technology that had stolen 6 years from us. When I finally removed the implant, a thing no bigger than a grain of rice, I wanted to crush it between my fingers. Closing now, I announced, my voice steady despite my exhaustion. The next hours were the longest of my life. I sat by his bed, holding his hand, whispering stories of our past. I told him about our first date, how he'd been so nervous he'd knocked over his wine, about the time we got food poisoning in Mexico and spent 3 days taking turns in the bathroom, laughing despite the misery, about the morning he proposed, how the rain had soaked us both, but he'd insisted on getting on one knee anyway. Elena? His voice was different, deeper, more certain. I looked up to find him watching me with eyes that truly saw me for the first time in 6 years. Hi, I breathed. Hi. He reached up, fingers trembling to touch my face. God, I missed you. I broke down then, sobbing against his chest while he held me with weak arms. He remembered. Not everything. There were still gaps, still confusion, but he remembered us. I'm sorry, he whispered into my hair. I'm so sorry I left. You were protecting me. I was a coward. I should have found another way. We both did what we thought was right. I pulled back to look at him. What matters is we're here now. Recovery wasn't like the movies. There were bad days when Marcus would forget where he was, when the gaps in his memory would frustrate him to tears. Days when I'd catch him looking at photos of his fake life with something like longing, not for Sarah, but for the simplicity of being Michael Chase, a man without a past worth hiding from. But there were good days too, days when we'd work together in physical therapy, his hand in mine as he relearned coordination. Nights when we'd sit on my apartment balcony, sharing silence and tea, rebuilding our connection one moment at a time. 3 months after the surgery, we attended the trial. Nexus Pharma's executives faced justice for their crimes. The murdered whistleblower, the illegal human experiments, the lives destroyed by their ambition. Marcus testified with quiet dignity, my father's evidence ensuring convictions. Sarah, whose real name was Agent Rebecca Stone, testified too. She found me afterward in the courthouse bathroom. I need you to know, she said, taking care of him wasn't just an assignment. He's a good man. Even with manufactured memories, he talked about you. Called out for Elena in his sleep. The implant could suppress his memories, but it couldn't touch his heart. I wanted to hate her, but I couldn't. We were all victims of Nexus's manipulation in different ways. 6 months later, I found Marcus in my kitchen, making coffee with the same precise movements he'd used years ago. Morning light caught the silver in his hair, the new lines around his eyes. We weren't the same people who'd fallen in love at Harvard. We were older, wounded, wiser. I've been thinking, he said, handing me a mug prepared exactly how I liked it. Some things the brain never forgets. About time. What about it? How we lost 6 years, how we can't get them back. He set down his mug, taking my hands. I don't want to lose any more time, Elena. I know we're different now. I know I'm still recovering, but I love you. Not because I remember loving you before, but because I fall in love with you again every morning. He pulled out a ring. Not the elaborate diamond he'd given me before, but a simple band with an inscription, "No more lost time." Marry me, he said. Not the people we were, but who we are now. Scarred and imperfect and absolutely certain that we choose each other. I thought about the journey that had brought us here. The pain of abandonment, the shock of reunion, the terror of almost losing him again. The slow, difficult work of healing and forgiveness. The choice to love not despite our broken pieces, but because of how we'd learned to put them back together. Yes, I said, pulling him close. Yes to all of it. Yes to you. We married quietly, just family and close friends. My father walked me down the aisle, Marcus's recovered memories and new ones blending as he watched me approach. There were no dramatic speeches about destiny or soulmates. Instead, we promised to choose each other daily, to face whatever came with hands held tight and hearts open. I still work at Seattle Medical, saving lives with steady hands. Marcus teaches now, sharing his story to help other victims of neural manipulation. We have dinner with my father every Sunday, grateful for second chances. Sometimes I wake at night and watch him sleep, still amazed he's here. He'll stir, pull me closer, murmur my name like a prayer. We both have nightmares sometimes, him of forgetting, me of losing him again. But we wake together, grounding each other in the present. Love isn't just the butterflies of new romance or the passion of youth. Sometimes it's the quiet determination to heal together, to build something new from the ashes of what was lost. It's choosing to trust after betrayal, to hope after despair, to believe that broken things can be beautiful too. We're planning to adopt, to give some child the love we've learned to rebuild. To teach them that family isn't about perfect people or perfect stories, but about choosing each other through the imperfect chapters. I don't know what tomorrow holds. Marcus's brain still bears scars from the implant. Nexus had connections we're still uncovering. The world remains complicated and sometimes cruel, but I know this. We're writing our story together now, word by word, day by day. No more stolen time, no more forced forgetting. Just two people who found their way back to each other and decided that was worth everything. The heart, it turns out, has a memory all its own. One that no technology can erase, no distance can diminish. It remembers love not in facts or dates, but in the feeling of coming home. And every morning, when Marcus hands me coffee and kisses my forehead, I'm home.